he's not answering the question.
Yeah.
I'd like to call the Board of Finance meeting to order, May 28, 2013, 7 o'clock, the Daniel S. Rivero Selectmen's Chamber. We have a full quorum here, so we don't have to swear any alternates in. Item 2, public participation. Any citizen wishing to make a statement or ask a question? Seeing none, we go to item 3. Item 3A, approval of the minutes, April 22, 2013. Is there a motion?
Move to pass as presented. I'll get it out one day.
There's a motion to pass the April 22nd minutes as presented with no additions or deletions.
No, I actually haven't. I was present at that meeting, I believe, and I'm not listed as present or absent. Sorry,
Okay, with that so noted, all those in favor of accepting the minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, so voted. Item 3B, May 7th, 2013, Special Board of Finance meeting minutes. Need a motion?
Take a motion.
Motion made by Joe Nash, second by
Second.
Kathy Noel Johnson. Any additions, corrections? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the May 7th Special Board of Finance meeting as presented, signify by saying aye.
Abstain.
I abstain as well, I was not here.
We have one aye, two ayes, two abstentions. Up to you, Joe.
I made my motion accept.
Okay, motion passed 3-2, 302, excuse me. And lastly, on 3C, the May 8th Special Board minutes to set the mill rate. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Benoit. Is there a second? Second by Kathy Noel Johnson on the May 8th minutes. Any additions, corrections, deletions? Seeing none, all in favor of accepting the May 8th minutes, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, 401. One abstention. Correspondence. This is a reporting month because we moved it from April to May. And the first person is Mr. Hull on this quarterly financial report for the Board of Education. If you want to sit there, Bill, that's fine. You can come on up if that's fine.
Where would you like me, sir?
Come on up.
Come on up. He's got a lot of questions for you.
Said the spider to the fly.
Like Barney would say, put him on the
It's
hot
an
seat.
easy one, Bill.
There they are.
He's ashamed to ask the question.
First of all, I'd like to commend you on your oil future purchases
Thank you.
on that line item. 320. I know, a very familiar one. Professional educational services. Could you give us an idea how many additional students were involved?
9.
And the only one I have is on 560 tuition. Likewise question.
9.
Any idea, we just don't know what it is, right? It's a number. I mean, flip of a coin and whatever it comes down, that's what it is.
I'm not sure I understand.
Students.
How many, how students, when students move into a district, the IEP is set. So you have to provide the services that you did not necessarily budget for or plan for.
Right, so it's a crapshoot.
They come in that you have to fulfill that IEP by law.
Do they come in at the beginning of the
No.
session, or they come in halfway?
Well, some do, some register, and some come in. We've had since March 9 new additional. 9.
Nine.
That's March 9th?
Yeah.
So all they're doing is they're just in here for the balance of the school year?
They could be, or they could stay for the rest of the time too. A lot of these are what we call our DCF placements. They're coming in from out of state, where they're and being shipped to facilities. Their parents live in Putnam, so therefore we are what's called the nexus. So therefore we have to pay with them.
So what's the norm on that is most of the time probably they would stay in our district, after they get.
Most of these are pretty involved children. Most of these probably we could not care for with program. They're quite they could have a wide range of services.
I have a question. You froze 21 of your accounts,
Yes.
and it says the funds are being utilized for grants for the remainder of the year. How do you know what grants to use for like administrative conferences or programming?
Well, because we wrote the grants that way, that we were doing things to take the place of Common Core, to increase certain capacities with our teachers. So we had written that one of the grants that came in late was what's called the Alliance School Grant. That came in late, was funded for us, I believe, in December. So we just shifted funds over to funding for those things we were going to do or attempt to do over into that grant.
So my question is, where did the money go when you froze the accounts? Did that go to pay for the special ed?
Yeah, we froze 21 accounts.
Right.
21 accounts, we're not taking any more money out of there. You'll see something, if you look at it, on the projected balance, you see a lot of zeros there.
Right.
Right.
So when you look at that, where we're gonna end up, I think it's $7,405. That used to be a very conservative figure.
Mhm.
That's not so conservative anymore.
It's on the money?
As best you can.
As best we can. Now, that depends on what we have with healthcare, and also absences for staff members, for substitutes, et cetera. That all costs money. And right now, we're looking at what to do with our healthcare account. We want to make sure we funded all our liability claims, but E-chip is helping in that account. It's helping us save money.
I still can't figure out the family resource budget at all. After 4 years studying this thing, just can't get it done.
The problem is the same name seems to appear so many different times in.
Tell me Mr. Chairman, what you're looking for. I mean, you tell me what you're looking for, and I'll provide you the information.
Where does most of the money come from?
It comes out of two sources. It comes out of the district, and it comes out of, actually three. It comes out of the FRC grant. It comes out of school readiness grant, which is, that school readiness is for preschool, and it comes out of the district.
No money from parents, right?
Oh, yeah, you
That's
could
kids
see.
though.
Yeah, well, it's $146,569.25 at this time. So that's not pittance.
How many kids does this cover?
Quite a few, I think.
Ballpark.
Ballpark, you're gonna hold me to it.
No.
150 to 180.
And the budget is almost $800,000.
Yeah. But remember, there's an old adage in education: for every dollar you spend in early preschool, you save, depending on the research, at 3 to 7.
Maybe it's just got a bad taste from their predecessor, I don't know. It just doesn't run smooth.
It's a different buffet.
Yeah, I know.
Buffet now.
Sound like you're an island buffet. I don't have any more questions for the superintendent. Does anybody else have any?
Good job otherwise.
So we're looking at, and I received a letter from Mr. Hull asking that negotiations started. You'd like a representative. Peter Benoit will be the representative. He's volunteered to carry out his duties.
We do an IDB. Okay. So I'll send you the dates. Make sure you know.
He said, please don't make a conflict with the building committee. He's on that too.
Well, you can't, because.
Here you go, Pete. Won't conflict. Another day off.
There you go.
You're getting the big money for this, so
Oh, yeah.
there you go. So Denise, you have that. Peter Benoit's the Board of Finance representative for negotiation with the school board. Okay, Bill, thank you very
Okay.
much.
Thank you all. Have a good summer, if I don't see you.
See how easy that was?
No problem. Go home and watch the Yankees. All right. Quarterly reports from the general government. We have Mr. Yeah, we do have him. Second shift. You're getting so skinny, I just about can see you.
Just a shadow.
We received a load from Mr. Cutler.
No, you
And, I mean, from Mrs. Foy. Yeah, you're happy with these auditors, right, Bill Paul? And we cemented those fellows in at the same rate for next year?
Next three.
Next three, that's good. And that rate doesn't change, right?
Correct.
So the town will save some money there. Anybody have any questions for
Oh, yes, I do.
That's unusual.
Sandra? Do you think you're gonna get by without Peter asking a question?
1418, 5502, part-time payroll, we had all of that. That was a big number, I guess.
Is that elections?
Yeah.
That's because we had a referendum, a
All that
primary,
stuff,
and
We're getting out of
an
that.
election.
What about 5615 meals?
Is that the same department? The same
Department.
thing?
So we paid for the meals on that?
Yes. I think they budget two events a year, and we had three.
Okay. Building official, 1423, 5608, professional services. Where was the activity? Because it said in there more activity. More
Well,
activity than
They
anticipated.
have lots of building permits and other permits that they're collecting money for, so at times they have to spend money to, get it in. And they have more meetings, more people coming for variances and stuff like that.
How long has the planner been on board?
Since last July.
July.
Well, it's been almost a year.
Oop.
Oh, I know he's gonna be here tonight.
Good question.
If I ran the guy over, my car wouldn't know who he is.
That's,
I would've thought he would've made it his business to come here.
yes. I've seen it. Yeah, I've seen it
1445.
here.
1445, 5723.
And that is,
Diesel fuel.
we had
We're
big
already
winter.
over our budget by over 6,000. And we
Big,
got 10.
yeah, big winter, lots of plowing.
Yeah. 'Cause I didn't see. All right. 1448 engineering, 5618 is the line item.
That was an unforeseen state mandate on our old landfill. It's the stewardship, new stewardship program in the state of Connecticut put into place. It requires a considerable amount of engineering work, which is our outside engineer, Griffin Engineering.
I understand where you're coming from, but for that kind of money, $50,000, to me, that should have come before the board. $50,000 is a lot of money.
Which old landfill is that? That's not
The municipal landfill.
But not the original one off of,
Yes,
that one there?
that one there.
Okay,
The one that's right neighboring our ash landfill.
okay. Oh, but I was thinking the one before that.
No,
Okay.
Hopefully
he's really old.
remember that.
Collector of revenue, 1311, 4101 is the line item. How much more do you think is coming, from now through the end of the year,
Not much
fiscal
more.
year?
Not much more.
Not much
We've
more.
filed our liens today, so we really don't have much of a collection enforcement between now and the
Now
end of
and then.
June. Yeah, so this is a time where the funds pretty much clear out.
All right, 1313, 4305, real estate conveyance. Spending, are we expecting any more there?
It's a function of land sales.
Hmm?
It's a function of
Yeah,
land sales, and
understand.
that's about 2 weeks, probably.
Do we
I
know
would
of
say-
any?
No.
Close it, okay.
Yeah, I've got two.
All the questions I had, Mr. Chairman.
Anybody else have any questions for either Doug or Mr. Boyd? Okay, seeing none, let's move on. Unfinished business, water and sewer plant updates. You wanna start, Bob, or you wanna give it to Doug?
The sewer plant is basically completed. There are certain things that will have to be done in terms of just doing some minor finishing up, and they're going to have that completed by December, mid-December of this year. And then the sewer plant will be basically up and running, fully running. We are in the process now of finalizing, hopefully, the diversion permits for both the Little River water treatment plant and well field. So hopefully, I'd like to report by the next meeting that those diversion permits will be in place. But we do have a meeting scheduled with DEEP in the next week or so, and hopefully we'll get all those issues resolved and the diversion permits can be issued after that. Good news is that we have applied to the USDA for $4 million to upgrade all 10 sewer lift stations in town. We received approximately $2.7 million in a loan at 2.125%, and we received the rest in the form of a grant of that $4 million. So about 26% of that total project cost will be picked up by a grant. We have to go, the WPCA will be bringing that to the town, both the town meeting and a referendum very shortly, which means it has to first go to the Board of Selectmen, and it will be referred from the Board of Selectmen to you and the Planning Commission, and maybe July or August, the referendum will be scheduled for that project. The good news also is that to pay for that is already built into the rate structure for the WPCA. So, and again, the proposal as the $4 million was proposed that we were going to get about 3% on the loan and no grant. So now that we're getting almost 27% in the form of a grant, and we're getting the loan at 2.125%, we should be doing very well in terms of our budgeting on that particular project. So
That sounds good.
that basically brings us up to date on all the things that are going on with the WPCA. There is one more project, and we finally have gotten the go-ahead to engage Beta Group, which is the engineering firm that will be doing the design and engineering on the $7.5 million water line replacement and relining project. They will be beginning very shortly. In fact, the notice is going out. Jerry is going to be releasing a press release for probably next week, announcing that we're getting started on the work that is necessary to start doing the engineering and design for that project. So we got a lot of things going on in WPCA. Hopefully we'll be taking 2 of the projects off the books from the standpoint of finishing up either the diversion permits, getting those in place, and hopefully getting the consent order out of the way. And then also on the sewer treatment plant is to have the sewer treatment plant basically finished by mid-December.
Water pipes.
Water pipes, yes.
When are they going to be replaced?
2014 is the construction season for 2014 is when we have to do the engineering and design work now, and so we're trying to get that work all done and accomplished so we can go out to bid for the spring of 2014 for that construction
Okay, so
season.
it goes out to bid. Who determines where you're going to start? I mean,
Basically, the engineers, we had 6 priority areas. It's going to be the first area that we're concentrating on is the Mechanic Street and Thompson Avenue area, but there are Pofford Street, South Main Street, I forget the other areas.
Walnut Street.
Walnut Street. So
For the project.
that's the project, right?
There was a whole list that came out.
Okay.
Yeah, it was about.
I just wondered where that
6
came
of them.
from.
It was based on what they call hydraulic modeling study. So they went in and they determined, how the flows were going through the pipes and, what kind of pressure they were getting out of the hydrants and that type of thing.
Well, they're all over 100 years old.
All over
So
100
that's
years
all
old.
set.
Those are the ones we're really are concentrating on.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
they're concentrating on the ones that have been there a long time.
Okay, so when those get done, are we going to carry on?
Yes.
Will that be the
It's-
next year, though?
Right now, you're right. We're concentrating on the first 32,000 linear feet of water
Right.
pipe. But there's also something that has to be done to the Richmond Hill water treatment, the water tank, storage tank on Richmond Hill. So that's going to be incorporated into, and that all has to do with the hydraulic modeling to determine the flows that we get up to the hospital and those types of things and other places in town. It has to do with the chlorine residual that we get at the, particularly in the case where we're going out to the projects, they're at the farthest end of the line from where we provide the water. So we have to make determination, have to make sure that the chlorine that stays in the water, gets out there so that they're having fluoridated water, treated water. So,
Okay. Anybody have any other questions about water, sewer?
Nope.
Okay, 5B, Tech Park update.
Yeah.
Tech Park update, today I learned that the Department of Economic Community Development has sent the record of decision. As you may recall, the record of decision is that final document that is done on the basis of the environmental impact evaluation that was accomplished over the past year. The record of decision has been signed off by the Department of Economic Development. It has now been sent to the Office of Policy and Management. Hopefully within the next 30 days, the Office of Policy and Management will be making a decision that the record of decision is adequate and that they will be authorized to be able to expend the state grants that are, the 3 state grants that are involved with this project. One being the steep grant involving the roadway access to the new bridge, the $3 million, almost $3 million for the new bridge, and the, what is it, $3.5 or $4 million that's for the YMCA. So once OPM signs off on the record of decision, and again, I'm hoping that's in the next 30 days, then we have the go-ahead to be able to expend the state dollars that are been involved with, that have been granted to these projects.
Is that coming from the Environmental Impact Commission?
The steep funds are coming from OPM. The $2.97 million is coming from the Department of Transportation, and the money for the YMCA is coming through the Department of Social Services, I believe.
Is there a date you have to use that by?
Usually, we got the financial assistance agreement with the state on the bridge in 2010. Usually it's a 5-year period to be able to expend those dollars. We can always get an extension, but we certainly would like to see that money expended within that grant, the financial assistance agreement time frame. And I think there's a like amount of time that the YMCA would have. They got it a little bit later than us for that fund pot. And of course, the steep grant is, as soon as we can expend the steep grant, the better off we'll be.
20 or 25 days ago, you said that Attorney Higgins and Attorney Cotton were going to meet with the right of first refusal.
Right.
Is that squared away?
We're just waiting for the final language to be drafted, and then that will have to go to the Board of Selectmen for their review and approval. And if they are agreeable to that, then the right of first refusal will be off the table, and then we can proceed to, there will also have to be an agreement with the YMCA in terms of the donation of the land, the 15 acres donation of land. Also has to come back to the Board of Selectmen. And the receipt of the full 62 acres.
I thought
for the
that was
railroad
passed
project.
in a referendum.
Excuse me?
I thought
It
that-
was, but just the details of it, it should ask to come back before the Board of Selectmen, that's all.
What did the Board of Selectmen have to do with it?
Just sign off on it to say, that's in keeping with the Board of Selectmen's, I'm sorry, the town meeting's approval.
Peter?
Huh?
No, go ahead.
On the right of first refusal, does that mean it'll go to the next selectmen's meeting? Or
If we get the
before
language
that?
drafted in time, I've been telling our attorneys that, time, because of the summer, we only have 2 meetings during the summer, one meeting in June, and actually one meeting for each of June, July, and August, yeah. So,
That's really, and Joe hit it before, and I'm just hitting on the same issue again, that we need to have this issue very transparent so that everybody knows what's going on with regard to this issue.
Anybody at the COG meeting throw their hand in the ring and say they want to be partners with us in this tech park?
not yet.
What are they afraid of?
They're afraid of the details, what's their buy-in to it, and not, because this is a new concept in terms of even having a revenue sharing concept, that if you're in on the risk side, then there's also should be benefits coming out of whatever you put into it, and it's a new concept all around the state of Connecticut. In fact, a lot of states don't have this type of.
Somebody must.
Some does. Minnesota does have an example. I would not want to set it up on the basis of the Minnesota model. Because what they do is they take from the haves and they give it to the have-nots, and we're not intending to do that. It would be an equitable distribution of the benefits from it. So any of the property tax increase in terms of property tax will be based on the ability to, you put in, let's say it's an $8 million project cost, and let's say it's $3 million, and we put in $2 million, let's say the other towns put in $1 million, up to $1 million, then how do we determine what the rewards will be based on their investment in the project?
It just behooves me that all these local towns around here, I would think one of them would just jump on and say, this is.
What's our next step though? Okay, this has happened now, we've had a meeting.
Now that I think we have the record of decision and we're pretty close in terms of getting the sign off from the state of Connecticut, now is the time to say, here's the pots of money that are available, and go to those towns and say, you know, would you like to join us in terms of this project?
Okay, who would you approach first, Plainfield? or do you
No,
have
we would
anybody?
approach our neighboring
Thompson?
towns, Thompson, Woodstock, and Plum.
Anybody else have any questions on the tech park update?
Not that I wouldn't pick Plainfield out at game to us.
No, I just brought it up because we wanted to be sure we had everything there. So we'll know a lot more within the next couple of months on the
Yes,
first roof.
yes.
We're not dispersing any funds till
No,
that's done,
we don't have the authority to disperse any funds.
even steep or anything.
Well, the only steep funds we were able to disperse is the $150,000 that the state of Connecticut took off the top of our steep grant to be able to pay for the environmental impact evaluation.
As far as what will we pay for it on those acres?
No,
That's all I'm talking about.
that's right, yes.
Any other questions for Doug? Thank you, Doug.
You're welcome.
Item 6A, consideration and approval of the transfer of certain tax accounts to the suspense tax law. Laws requiring. Is that you, Missy?
That would be me.
Perhaps you could explain that.
Sure. In order to close my books at the end of every year, I'm required by state law to produce a suspense list that needs to pass approval from the board tonight.
Lots of chairs.
Yeah, I just look at the book I left over here. Okay, go ahead, let me interrupt.
Go ahead, Miss.
Okay. I've submitted the suspense list for this year. It's slightly smaller than last year. To recap what happened last year, you approved a suspension list of a little over $9,000 last year. This year it's $4,900. That's basically because we still have active accounts that the marshal is continuing to work on. So until he gives those back to us as either collectible or non-collectible, I have not submitted that. So we have about 66 accounts this year that I feel as though that they are probably not going to be collectible. Last year we were able to collect about $400 in principal and $570 in interest. This year we did better than that in our suspension collections. We had a lot of people pay old motor vehicles, so I think they're moving back into the state, getting caught by the DMV, because we do send lists of delinquencies to the DMV for, for help from them. We collected about $2,500 this year and $2,760 in interest as of the time that I made this report for you. So we are, again, with suspenses, we continue to collect them. We call them uncollectible, but they are still in our system for 15 years. We still send them out to the marshal before they're presented before you. We use this, the state of Connecticut secretary, the commercial division at the state level in order to file liens against personal property. We still use American National Recovery Group in order to send those out for collection, and we are still using the DMV. So right now we have, like I said, 66 accounts that are we're requesting approval from the board tonight.
Anybody have any questions before we make a motion?
Make a motion.
Motion made by Joe to approve the transfer of certain tax accounts to the suspended tax book. For a second.
Is put in the amount of $4,911.15.
Okay.
Second.
Nice. Any other discussion or questions? Seeing none, all All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Ayes have it, so voted. Missy, start collecting.
Thank you.
Great job.
Have a good evening, everyone.
Okay, item 6B, planner report by Don Johnson, welcome.
Good timing.
Perfect. Sit up
My
here.
third
for
meeting
more.
tonight, so actually, the second one was never forum, but with an active date.
Do you have a report, or are you just here for asking questions?
We're just trying to get an understanding of what you've done since you've started working for Putnam. We want to understand what the planning position entails and what you've done to date in that position.
It all starts here. Land conservation development. It's like a, sort of like a roadmap for what the planner does, and there's a lot of things in here having to do with goals and objectives of the town. The planner gets this done through land use regulations, through policies. So what I've been doing is particularly involved in land use, the future development of the town, what goes on the land. That's the emphasis of it.
How much would you say your time you spend in the land use area?
Most of it,
80%?
yeah, at least.
How much land do we have now? How much do we have town or city land? What?
2 square miles. What I've been doing, a lot of what I've been doing is involved in tech park. I have a map of it I can display here. Couple maps I can display. I'm lighting one of them up right now. I have an easel.
This one?
Yeah. We can pass it around.
Break it, Joe. We got plenty of them.
Let me go use the easel.
Well, there's an easel behind you, Joe.
Good idea.
Don't break it.
Back there.
First of all,
Stand, we can.
carry out your policy on the land use of the town to inform. We have the different districts in town, we have 2 overlay districts now. One overlay 2. This is an updated map of the whole town. This is the agricultural zone, this is the commercial area, it's highway oriented. Downtown, parkland, industrial land, in this color. And over here. Overlay Park District. We just passed the zoning a few weeks ago. So as far as what we want to do with the land, the uses and what we're allowed and so forth. All of these areas. Cross hatching area. More detail on the tech park itself. This is the conceptual plan for the outside one, the color one, conceptual plan for the whole 200 plus acres. This is the conceptual plan for the YMCA portion.
Where's the YMCA?
The YMCA right now will be in 2 parcels. It's going to be on one originally, but it's because of a lot of wetland constraints and environmental issues. And also because of gas, also there, and we will get turns out that the buyer's gonna get two parcels. The parcel on the south side, to the building itself, parcel on the north side where the rec fields.
So on the colored one right there, the aqua colors.
Now, you just said 200 acres? I thought we got 65, 15 for the YMCA and 50 for the town.
Yeah.
Where's the other 200?
Space.
Who owns the other 200? Are you Wheeler Brothers, or is that ours?
It's in private hands, in two property owners.
Private hands.
Newton's and the,
Right.
And what's the status of that?
excuse me?
And what's the status of that? It's in private hands, is it stay in private hands?
It's gonna stay in private hands, so unless you know, we
But
come
now
up
you don't
with the
deal
cost to purchase it, but it might work out that we have a better private, public partnership in terms of improving that and selling those that land as, for industrial purposes under the tech park.
And when will we know all of this information?
Would you, through the town meeting and the budget approval, we were able to obtain $100,000 to do the next step in terms of the planning process for that, and so that will be extended once July 1 We'll be doing more detailed planning work in terms of making those determinations.
Let me get this right. The town planner can plan for private people. Like the 200 acres, you don't know.
Right.
That's, most of what we do is planning for where land gets developed. That's really the interest of what the plan does. Working along with the zoning commission and the planning commission.
I understand that. I thought you did the planning of land that the town or the city owns.
No.
No?
The whole town, it's all encompassing.
It's all encompassing.
That's a Bible of the town of Putnam, the way it should be developed, the entire town, as it goes, which way, what's next.
The zoning districts, the various zoning districts are all for different purposes, they have a lot of different uses in them.
Mm-hmm.
For example, the downtown district is focused toward, the commercial uses that are on the lower levels and offices at the above level, it may be. The highway district is oriented for sort of, big boxes, they're gonna call them, take up a lot of them. The agricultural district is oriented toward agriculture and open land uses and low density residential. The tech park district we just established is oriented toward high technical businesses, high technology businesses, as we hope to attract to the area. Industrial area overlay district, which is downtown, takes in some of the old factories in town. We recently did an amendment to that. There's also a bunch coming in now to the Cargill Falls mill, just submitted tonight actually. So we've done a couple special amendments to the zoning regulations to accommodate development, some of the land for the town, for the town benefit. And we've done it in an environmentally sound manner. I think that we continue to account all the tools that we have at our hands to do it right first time. It's a comprehensive scheme of amendments. That's not, it's for the whole town. We're making a couple of changes to the overall zoning regulations themselves. These are the amendments that we made for the two overlay districts that I described. Just tonight, sure. Anybody wants any copies, but you just let me know. I'll serve you. This is the whole set of zoning regulations. I've been going over with the zoning commission for about 9 months now. We just tonight did a final first draft. It's quite an extensive process to go through all this. It's 180 pages. It's one town council soon, and then when it goes back to town council, we'll hold the hearings on it. And hopefully we can get the comprehensive amendment done to the zoning regulations within 2 months. We're well on the way.
So Don, how long have you been with us so far?
This July.
July. see as far as our growth and what our vision is for the future, based on the information that you have worked on and looked at?
The plan for conservation development is well done. It's comprehensive, but there's nothing in the plan that's not doable. It's a matter of updating and be ready for what comes before us. And doing it the way the town wants it done.
Do you give the Board of Selectmen, like, your suggestions on any redevelopment plans that you might have or would be beneficial to Putnam? Do they ask you for that? I mean, do they say, okay, Don, you're the city planner, what's our future development gonna be? Can we knock this out? Can we do this? Can we buy that? You work with Doug Cutler, stuff like that?
We work on that too.
Like the mill across from Winnie, someone's supposed to buy that. Do you work with that to develop that mill?
I don't work with the development, but we put forth the land use regulations and standards that we want. When the engineers and architects come in, they know what we want.
To put the language together, Tony. He puts the language.
The guidelines to what they can and can't do.
Along with the commission. It was in the paper, it was on the radio recently about the,
Submitted today. Nice.
That's the conceptual plan. I have a detailed engineering plan, but it's bring that. That should give you an
I
idea.
didn't have an engineering degree.
Was that right? Yeah.
Now, when is this supposed to take place, Don?
When is it supposed to take
Does
place?
he have the funding to do this job?
He's getting the funding together. It's not, it's a gentleman named Tim Sheldon. This is what he does. It's his specialty. He does rehab of old factories. He's done several in New Hampshire, he's done one in Pawtucket, he's done Providence.
So he goes in, takes an old factory, and develops it into whatever,
Right.
he's gonna make money.
Right. We worked at numbers. Believe it or not.
But before he does anything, did you check that out? I mean, that was an old mill, so asbestos, oil,
You have to do all that. It's all part of the process.
that has
Phase
been
one,
done?
phase two.
It's all different agencies too. It's all part of the process.
Okay,
Before it's built, that has to be all taken care of, all cleaned up.
so it's a long process.
It's a long process. This is actually the site will look like. And that's going on right now.
So do I take it the priorities are the YMCA and Tech Park? And then from there, we're moving on to the other old mills per se?
Immediate priorities are just what, we want to have whatever we need in place so that somebody can come in and look at the town and say, I want to do this. This town allows me to do what I want to do, what I need to do. Here's a set of regulations, here's what the designs and plans are going to be.
Yeah, I just want to know what your plans are going forward. I know what you've done, you've articulated what you've done since you've been in a position. I want to know where we're going from this point forward.
We continue to have the method in place. Some of what you're asking for is economic development too, which I work on with Delta. We applied on a couple of grants, I worked on some narratives with them, a couple of grants, and one we received, which is for a downtown signage program, it's for wayfinding. Another one we received for actually construction of the sidewalk in front of this property you're looking at right now for the Target Falls Mill. Hopefully that'll come through. That really needs it.
Where do we stand on the Whole Hale complex, which is a huge complex in its own right?
Talking about the one across from Church Street, right?
That's correct.
That's it, right?
That's it.
The other thing that Don gets involved with is, once we get this record of decision, and there's going to be a lot of implementation steps that are necessary. There's mitigation steps that have to be taken in terms of the development of the property, taking into account the fact that we have endangered species. We've got to do certain things based on the DEEP requirements if we get an easement across their land. So Don's going to be very instrumental in terms of working on a lot of the implementation steps that require a planner's background. And so he'll be helping considerably in terms of making sure that those steps are followed, and also there's produces the results that are required as part of the plan.
Because we've been talking about this plan of development for so long, and we wait to see this fruition
Right.
at some point in time in our lifetime.
Right.
You make it. Yeah.
Well, we've been talking about it for a long time, but I think we've made a lot of progress.
Don't forget, we're talking in planning terms that 10 years isn't that long a time.
Yeah.
20, you look at 10 or 20-year time frame, you know, the plan of conservation development is supposed to be updated every 10 years, rather.
Are you
We're actually starting to work on that. We can do a lot, there was a consultant who did this before, but now I think we have the capability to do a lot of this in-house.
part of your job description probably is the code enforcement, correct? If you go to a job,
Not really.
that has nothing to do with you? I just thought it would be part of
Just the
the...
zoning enforcement officer and the building official, that's primarily there. You got inland wetlands, and that's Fred Wojcik. You got zoning, which is your building
But I
official.
thought part of a city planner is code enforcement.
We
In
develop
our
the
case,
codes. We develop the codes and work with the boards. Commissions.
Sets the guidelines, somebody else enforces.
We set the guidelines. The commissions approve the guidelines, and then we have to work with the guidelines to enforce them.
You go to those common meetings with,
Sometimes.
Don has a meeting with Connecticut Light Power on Thursday. The Connecticut Light Power extension, you know, and again, he reviews their plans and, you know, what they have going forward, and make sure that there aren't things that will affect Putnam. So he's a part of that project as well, the Connecticut Light Power reliability project.
It's coming through Putnam in 2014, right?
That's right. Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you, Don, since the time you've been here, where do you see your vision of Putnam in another 5 to 10 years?
Let's put it this way, my vision of Putnam is what you want it to be.
Yeah, but you'll have
I
some
don't
say,
have my own
obviously.
vision of what your town should be.
No, I understand that, but obviously you'll have an opinion.
My opinion is that the town is doing pretty well for itself.
Well, certainly,
We
politically correct thing to say. That's sitting in a handbasket.
You don't have too many boards downtown, or boarded up windows, or vacancies, or...
And what's your answer to the parking problems?
I've got a cookbook on that.
No, seriously, I mean, you're a planner. I mean, just looking at that today, you show 183 parking places for almost 100 units. And, what, 83 parking places for 100 units? There's some with 2 bedrooms. You get 6,000 feet of restaurants. Where does the parking go? Where do they park?
Shuttle buses.
What?
Shuttle buses.
It's all part of the permitting process.
Well, that's a nice answer, but where do you think they're gonna go?
As you see them.
83 parking places?
Yeah.
That'll handle 6,000 foot dining area?
Not 83 parking places, there are 200 and some odd parking places on that site.
Really?
But sometimes it doesn't seem to be enough at times.
Well, there's
That's
never
right.
enough
Never enough.
parking in this town, that's the problem.
people are afraid to walk, that's why.
Because that municipal lot is pretty empty most nights. That's all I'm gonna say. It's a nice night for a walk.
Even the restrooms.
Well, I tell you, I like these, I'm impressed with these
Pretty.
prints.
I didn't develop them, but...
I know, but I'm.
Right, you took credit for that, right?
We
It's
took-
a law.
We took,
Like Chicago.
we told them what we wanted, let's put it that way.
Law.
We've been working with the developer, this one to get what, best for the town, you know, what do you think?
Well, you don't cost us any money right now, so you're not like the Board of Selectmen or the Board of Education. You're just a nice, mild-mannered guy.
We're making money.
You're making money, very good. Don't stick with Cutler because you'll be spending money.
We want to do in our land use regulations, the subdivision regulations, the zoning regulations, or the wetland regulations, which those are in pretty good shape. But the zoning regulations, there's a lot of outdated uses, a lot of outdated methods. We want to bring it more current, it's just more. We we have the tools so we can do it environmentally friendly and manner than we used to. There's still big economic development that we're looking for, and housing that we're looking for, so we're looking to do that. Still working on that, like I said, we just approved, I'll call it a plan first draft. And I scratched it off, I'll be working on that a couple more days, and we got the town council, and hopefully by the summer, we'll have hearings.
So you got more into cluster housing and more open space and stuff like that. That would be wonderful.
Yeah.
Spoke like a true electrician.
Thank you.
Small houses.
Well, sometimes.
Anybody else have any questions for Don?
Now we got an idea of what you're doing,
Right.
what you've
Just
done.
think land use.
Do you have any suggestions, or we meet the last Monday of every month? If you have something that's pending that may cost money, feel free to come. To be rejected.
Well, you know what GIS is? GIS, Geographic Information Systems. We need that.
You get that.
Thank
Get a
you
lot
very
of
much.
money back from the school, you can use it.
Thank you. We're gonna freeze one of Doug Cutler's accounts. Well, Don, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll provide a summary.
Nice presentation by Don Johnson. And 6C, a joint discussion, Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance regarding a truck purchase. Discussion, possible action required. We have our legal counsel, town counsel here, very nervous. Got down and talk another 2 hours. But that's over with. How are we gonna do this? Does this have to go in executive session?
No.
No. Okay.
Do you want to have Mr. Cutler summarize the facts and then we talk about the law and then
Yeah.
you guys talk about everything
That
else?
would be fine.
Sounds good.
Go, Doug.
Okay. This all goes back to a meeting that was held in the mayor's office. This was when Bob Vance was mayor, the 2011-2012 fiscal year. And at the time, the director of public works, Jerry Bosway, had come to us, and Paula was at the meeting, myself, the mayor, and Jerry Bosway were in attendance at the meeting. And there was discussion about the state of the trucks in our inventory at the public works department. Jerry was concerned about some of the conditions of the existing trucks, their age, their reliability beyond the road, and was inquiring as to the possibility of us seeking to purchase an additional truck for the town. And it was discussed at that time that, the appropriate way to be able to accomplish that would be to come to the Board of Finance to see if there was any funding available through the capital non-recurring account to get that accomplished. So, but what happened is that the decision was sort of made to go forward with the purchase of the 2 trucks, and that there would be follow-up on the basis of that. The mayor would be coming to the Board of Finance to make the request to have the money transferred for the purchase of that truck, and unfortunately that never got accomplished.
Wasn't that the cart before the horse?
I know, I understand. There was the cart before the horse, but there was an intent to be able to come to the Board of Finance. At that time, Mayor Vian was, he was off on an adoption process in Russia, and things dropped between the cracks, and that never got accomplished. And coming to you for that approval. In the meantime, Jerry, thinking that he had the authorization, went ahead and did put into process the purchase of that additional truck. And as you know, it came in June of 2012, and Paula went forward in terms of coming back to you to get the transfer for that funding to be put into that, for the purchase of that truck in that fiscal year, so that it would be, could be accomplished since we already took possession of the truck and we're already in the process of using the truck. So then at that meeting, one of the meetings where you made that transfer, you decided that we should put into place a policy that would determine any future instances, or not future instances, but any future purchases of this kind, so they wouldn't have, this would not happen again, so that we would have a procedure and a policy in place, and you adopted that policy, which required that any major capital expenditure on the part of the town required a purchase order number, and also had to be signed off by the finance director, and also by the board of finance in the future. In the meantime, there was a freedom of information request in terms of also some of the questions in terms of the legal backup in terms of the purchase of the truck and how it could be accomplished, and what your role in it in terms of making that decision. And so Bill's in a position where he can explain the legal background and backup in terms of the decisions that you made.
Before we get there, didn't somebody approach Paul, or somebody approach you with regard to this purchase, and you told them unequivocally no?
I told them that it was not approved by
It
the
was
board.
not approved.
Only one truck was.
Right, so Jerry came to you, the mayor came to you, you told them both the same thing?
Jerry came to me, and then we talked with the mayor, and the mayor told him to order the truck, that he would take care of it.
But knowingly that was the wrong thing to do at the time. And that's how we get in the fix we are, because it's not that it could have happened, that it could have come in late June. The problem was it was ordered at least 6 or 7 months earlier than what it should have been.
Right.
And no one knew. The Board of Finance did not know.
No,
The Board of
we
Selectmen
didn't know it
You
then.
did not know. Board of Selectmen. Once we had that meeting, we went on to our other business, and we didn't realize that it hadn't been taken care of either.
Let me just go back. When it came to our attention, I requested that we send the truck back. So we didn't authorize it, send it back. And we were told that we've been using it for 3 or 4 months, and it'd be a tough order to send it back. So now we're stuck with it. What are you gonna do? We're gonna pay for it now. Okay? And Paula showed us we could do it this process. That's the process we follow. And so that's where we were. And I was appalled that the town does not have purchase orders. So I commissioned Peter to come up with a policy, which is, I think, a really solid policy on future purchases. And if everybody adheres to that, we'll be in good shape, town. But it was a mistake. It was an oversight. There was a lot of things going on. I don't think one individual is at fault. I think there was no real process to do anything. And the building works guy, Jerry, thought he needed a truck. Paul looked at the budget and said, you can't order the truck. The mayor said, do it. And that's the bottom line.
So the culpable party is no
Mayor.
longer in office.
Right. So we can't bring him back and
And fire him.
right.
But I think, again, we are looking at a new financial management system in town. And I hope that when we look at the financial management system, that it's going to incorporate some of these safeguards that you have built into your policy, so that there will be a purchase order system, and that nothing gets signed off on, particularly major expenditures, unless, for instance, you raised the question tonight about the engineering studies for the municipal landfill. Now, grant you, that's a state mandate that all of a sudden came off the radar, and we weren't aware of it, and the state's on our case because we had to fulfill the requirements of that state mandate in terms of this landfill fellowship program. But again, it's something that probably we have to do a better job from our standpoint in terms of filling you in on these things. The truck is a bad example of how things really do fall through the cracks.
Well, it's the
But
most
thing-
egregious.
Yeah, it's the most
That
egregious.
we've ever seen.
Right.
But even the $50,000 we talked about, those kind of things, we've got to be aware before they're purchased.
Right.
That's what the finance board is for,
And
specifically.
one of the things that we should do is that, you know, it might not start out as a $50,000 over expenditure at the time, but, you know, over a course of a period of time or a quarter or something, that 50,000 was built up over that period of time. So, and you do meet monthly, so I think it's incumbent upon us to do a better job in terms of our reporting, to let you know that these things are happening and the reason for them, and if there's, you know, reason that we should be looking at ways of you know, finding other sources of funds to perhaps, you know, assist the town, but I think you're right, we do have to do a better job.
Unless it's an emergency,
Right.
and then if it's an emergency, you gotta do what you have to do. If a boiler blows up at the school, they're not gonna wait a month to get that taken care of, you gotta take care of it, don't pay for it when you can.
Right.
You know, like you just said, the $150,000 from the state, or $100,000, you didn't plan that, all of a sudden, and if you didn't do it, we're gonna lose more money down here. So, you know.
Or you're gonna get fined.
Right, the truck's not an emergency.
Was there money in
Tony.
the truck for that, was there money in the budget
I
for
got
that
it.
second
Okay.
truck?
No.
There was no money in the budget.
It was in-
No, for the next year.
But the next year there was though,
Yeah.
right?
This is a joint meeting, go ahead.
Yeah, so what I'm wondering, and you actually gave a great lead into it, is if I recall correctly from the notes from the meeting where the truck came up, there was an issue of timeliness. That Sherry had been given, well, no, I'm not saying it excuses it, Peter. I'm just wondering, one, how tight was that deadline? That Sherry, if he ordered 2 trucks instead of 1 truck, could get a significant discount.
He had to order the second truck by a certain,
Right, I'm wondering
like,
what that,
the next day.
okay, that's what I was wondering. I'm wondering what that deadline was, number one. And number two, since this isn't the last time that sort of thing's gonna happen either, where if you act tomorrow, you can save a substantial amount of money for the town. Is there a way to work into a policy, again, a standard procedure where time is of the essence to be able to
Did you read our new policy? You should read our new policy, and you would understand
Okay.
that we would meet
I don't
separately
think I have it.
as a board the next day, if necessary.
Okay.
The thing I wanna still understand
Okay.
is, when this truck came in, did it show a red flag, a red herring? That this truck was in, and there was no purchase order, there was a purchase order for it, but was it valid?
Well, that's the other problem, is the Board of Selectmen approves the bill to be paid, there was no policy on that end either.
Well, there's policy, but it's, you know,
So what's the?
Well, obviously, they didn't know that nobody ordered the truck, and, I mean, God,
but the
they
thing
might
is,
have sent a
there's
bill
different
and it was-
signatories on all these bills, and it ultimately ends up with the selectmen, so it comes through the department heads. In certain cases, it comes through me in certain instances where I sign off on all bills that might come through various different departments, and I'm the final signatory on it, as well as I think there's 3 members of the Board of Selectmen that sign the bills. But they're not aware that if there's any funding that backs that purchase order up. Unless there was a chain of, let's say there was a chain of evidence that's showing the purchase order, a sign off by the director, the finance director, and ultimately to say that this is approved because there's funding available. You know, they don't necessarily have that, see that check off.
Right, so, and, I mean, I don't know, in my budgeting process, there's 2, there's the budget, do you have the money to purchase this item? And then when it comes in to another department, are they charging you the correct price for what you agreed on? And you have to have all those papers together, I mean.
At least now they're gonna have to have a purchase order on all capital expenditures. We've made some headway
Okay,
to that regard.
Bill, what's the legal ramifications, the legal clarification?
We screwed up, there's absolutely no question about that. The proper way an expenditure should occur is Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance, and if necessary, town meeting. What happened here, clearly the Board of Selectmen did vote to pay all bills, including the truck bill when it came in the end of June of 2012, I believe. Normally, to cure this, one exception. We have, and I don't know if anybody actually read any of either of my letters all the way
Read them
through.
both.
Yeah, we did.
There's a weird thing in the unusual thing in the Putnam Charter that says for capital and non-recurring money, the Board of Finance is both the appropriating authority and the legislative body. In a town like Thompson, that's a general statutes town, it has one of those functions and the town meeting has the other function, and you need both of them to intersect in order to have an appropriation. In Putnam, you have the power as a Board of Finance to both approve the concept and appropriate the money without the town meeting, only in the instance when you are appropriating from the capital and non-recurring account. And that, it is my understanding that that is what happened in this case, was the motion was to appropriate the money from the capital or non-recurring. Now, Mr. Cutler has informed me that this is also the regular practice that's followed with school buses. You put money in the capital and non-recurring, you look at the overall budget, you determine whether a bus is needed, and you then do that because the money's been appropriated through the town meeting to get into the capital and non-recurring. It does not require a second town meeting vote to expend that money. In terms of curing this thing, that it is my understanding that that is what was done. There's one minor nit that anybody can pick, and that is, I think, Pete, your original motion says to appropriate the money to the 2013 budget. I think it really had to be appropriated to the 2012 because we got the item in. And from my old days as first selectman, when the Board of Ed would always buy everything and then throw it back into next year's budget or last year's budget.
Yeah,
In previous years.
But it wasn't a legal transaction. Technically, it wasn't in the right year, fiscal year. It came in 2012?
It has
So
to
your
be-
appropriation
it
has
has
to be
to be in
effective
that
to
year.
the 2012 year, because that's what the auditors would do, is they throw it back. You can't get something in 2012 and pay for it in 2013, at least not a general government.
But it came out of general government.
Right, so because it came out of general government, it has to be chargeable to the 2012 budget. And but you can appropriate money out of capital and non-recurring, because in that one slot, that money has already been appropriated by the taxpayers when they approve the money going into the capital and non-recurring. That's the, what I'm trying to say as clearly as I can. If the money comes from any place, thank you, Joe, any place other than, the score is 1-1. If you appropriate from any money other than capital and non-recurring, you make a recommendation and you need a Board of town meeting to ratify. Because this money came out of capital and non-recurring, in my view, the Board of Finance had the authority to fix this problem by approving the appropriation. That was what the intent, I understood the intention of your motion to do. So clearly we screwed up. Clearly we had a truck that's been on the road for almost a year. We can't give it back, and I think.
But other than going from 13 to 12, that would be it?
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, that's it.
Barney?
The only thing I got is, when the truck was paid for, correct me if I'm wrong, Paul, the check was cut on the 18th, June 18th of June 18th, the check was cut to pay for the truck. He picked up the truck on June 19th, 2012, okay? 2013. So, what I'm saying here is, the money in the general government budget was used to pay for that truck. It didn't come out of the capital non-recurring account because it came out already. The check, let me just check that, but I'm sure the check came in. The check for the truck.
It's paid, that's when it was paid.
Paid July 2nd, 2012.
No.
In July
The
13th.
check was cut. So you're telling me a business is gonna keep a $60-something thousand check for a month and not cash it? I don't think so. I think you should call up
Where's the signature?
Nutmeg, and it looks, the check that I have is, oh, that's Joey's, that's his first truck. Let me get to the second truck.
So what's your point?
My point is, that the truck came out of the 2012 budget.
It's done.
No, it isn't done. How can it be done when
It's
you
done.
pay $62,000 for a truck? The check was made out June 18th. They picked up the truck on June 19th. So you're telling me that they said they paid for the truck in July of 2012, when in fact they paid for it June 19th. You're gonna pick up a $70,000 truck, and people are gonna give you the truck and give you the title without you giving them some money. The check was made out the 18th of June. The 19th, he picked up the truck, so he had to give them the check for the truck. So that was in the 2012 budget year. Now, there was no money in the capital non-reoccurring account at that time for that truck, because it had been spent on the first truck. So the money had to come out of the general operating government budget. It should have came out of surplus. It should have came out of the capital non-reoccurring account, because there was no money in it. We already purchased one truck. We gave out a check to Nutmeg, the 19th, for a truck, and it was paid for, and my saying is that it came out of the general money. And if we want to contest when they said it was paid July 23rd, I suggest they call Nutmeg Company and find out when they passed that check, because you're gonna find out they passed it.
The check was made out on
You're
July
misreading
13th.
this. That line means the
Date
date
of
of
the
the
invoice.
invoice, the date on the bottom is the date the check was issued. That's,
Well, I would,
Bernie, what's the difference? Well, it's
the
done.
the difference is two things that bother me. The money should have came out of surplus, not the capital non-reoccurring account if they talk like that. The second thing is, there isn't one person here tonight that can answer a question for me, okay? Other than the fact is, where's the ex-mayor saying that he gave Jerry permission to order the truck? Nobody's there. There's a signature on the purchase order of Jerry. And the thing that says it, if you look in the charter addresses this issue very clearly. The charter says that if anybody, department head or official, orders or makes a purchase of any item without going through the boards, they're subject to automatic dismissal. We haven't had an answer. I haven't had an answer here since I've been asking these questions. I'm still gonna ask the board of selectmen to conduct an investigation to this, because I still say that. Another thing is, if you look at your line item in your budget tonight that was presented by the present treasurer, you'll find out that all this truck that we talked about, was now paid off in the 2013 year budget. It wasn't paid in the 2012 budget, like you thought and I thought. It was paid in the 2013 budget, so.
That's the money they wanted transferred back to the capital non-recurring fund.
I will ask the Board of Selectmen to conduct an
What's your
investigation.
axe to grind anyway, with the mayor?
What's
That's
my-
what it sounds like to me.
No, it's
It
not.
sounds
It's-
like you have an agenda, Barney.
I have an
Okay,
agenda.
yeah,
I
okay,
have an
good. What
agenda.
is
You know
it?
what it is?
What is it?
Follow policy. That's what it
Okay,
is.
he didn't
Follow
follow
charter.
policy. He didn't follow policy. You put him on the hot seat, you know what he's gonna say? I didn't follow policy. Then what? Then what?
Then what? Then we conduct an investigation. How's that?
Then what?
Then we make a decision whether they want to conduct an investigation
And
or
then
not.
what?
what's the end game?
What's the end game?
The end game is follow policy.
He didn't follow policy.
Nobody followed policy here.
All right.
Because we should have known 4 months after the truck was purchased, the Board of Finance found out about it and the Board of Selectmen. 4 months has expired since we took a new truck in delivery and no board knew about it. Come on. Somebody had to know that truck was in the yard. Did you know it?
Well, I'm sure they knew it was there, but nobody knew that that the mayor didn't come and.
Wait, we got a truck, we got a $150,000 truck sitting in the yard. You didn't know about it, none of this board knew about it, nor did I. How can we have a $150,000 truck sitting in the yard when nobody knows about it? Who knew about it?
Jerry Bosley.
And who else? Somebody had to cut a check. If somebody cut the check, why didn't they say something to you, or say something to me, or say something to the town administrator?
We got the check, we got the check, yeah, we got the check in, the bill in
Barney,
July,
Barney,
so
can I
I
go back
thought
to
he
Bob
didn't
Garcia said?
receive it
Okay,
in July.
what you're saying is correct, a lot of mistakes were made, okay, it's done, it's over. What do you wanna do, fire the mayor? He's done. You wanna fire Mosley? He's gonna retire in June. You know, what could be done? We can't send the truck back.
I know that, it's just that nobody has admitted a mistake.
They admitted the mistake, everybody's admitted the mistake.
And again, Barney, although a mistake was committed, it took the Board of Finance to write the policy on the procedure.
It was
Which
already
should
in
have been-
place.
But that should, no, was it?
Yes, it was, in the charter.
There was no PO system.
No PO
There was
system
no
in the
PO
charter.
system in the charter, there was holes everywhere. You know, Barney, I'm gonna tell you something. I work in a financial industry. Rules and policies change daily because things change daily. They are made because of errors and omissions that happen, because people make mistakes. Why don't you use your energy for something positive instead of trying to...
I will.
I
will.
wish you would,
I will.
because I
So
don't
when
see
you
that.
when you follow
I don't see
policy
that.
and procedure, when people follow policy and procedure and are accountable for their acts, I don't have a problem with that. And if somebody says they made a mistake, not after the mistake had been made, 6 months later, we're sitting here at a Board of Finance and
Because you
Selectmen
keep bringing up something that's already been solved. There's nothing more to do about it. The investigation's been made. We all know that a mistake was made.
The
We
hole was plugged.
corrected it by putting a PO system in order. There's gonna be more mistakes because we don't know the next hole that might come up. That's life.
And quite frankly, a weakness is our operating software.
The fact of the matter is, there's too many little spaces between everybody, and everybody just thought somebody else had done their job. And it all comes down to the one
Well,
person
and the
that did
big
it,
thing I would like
unfortunately.
to clear up, because I think we put it on record now that the check came from June, and
No.
No.
Check was July.
no, I'm just saying, his record of the event has you issuing the check in June.
It
In
was
reality,
July.
she didn't do it till July,
The
so
check
she
was-
didn't know.
The check was paid on July 13th, I got it
Right.
right here.
So they,
Stamped.
so she
But
was
the
already
truck was
working with the
delivered on
next
the
year's
26th
budget.
of June.
Yeah, and I
And
don't
5 days
make out
after
the
would have
check.
been no problem.
I just
One
signed it.
question I have, especially signing off on capital items. You would think we would have the smarts to look to see if it was obviously a correct item that was supposed to be purchased in that fiscal year, seeing the amount of dollars that's expended. That's the one question I would have, more than just one single bill of a paltry $1,000 or something
But the
like that.
treasurer caught that.
When she caught it, when she could catch it.
I caught it when I was
it
doing
came
the
to
fixed
the fact.
asset.
Well, but, I mean.
Because I said, when did we get this truck?
Right, I mean, what I understand it, and I'm not going to dig, I mean, I read this half a dozen times as part of the discussion. I mean, I don't think there's anything that, other than changing it from 12 to 13, something along those lines that the Board of Finance could have done that it didn't do, to resolve it as best it could. Maybe it's not the best answer, maybe it's not the wisest answer, but it resolves it to the degree that this board can resolve it. We can't make them give the money back. If in fact an employee of the town of Putnam did something they shouldn't have done, it would be the responsibility of that person's immediate supervisor, or I don't even know if you do annual evaluations or what you do with the town of Putnam. I mean, one could put a letter of correction, a letter of something or other in someone's file and what have you. I mean, you could do stuff like that. Well, was it malfeasance? Did he deliberately do it? I don't know that. I certainly would like to think that that certainly isn't something that you expect the head of the department. I mean, the argument with the truck, as Paula puts it in there were three people. There was her, there was the mayor, and there was Bosley. And, with regards to the truck, I think Paula did what her responsibility was to do, to say, maybe shouldn't have doing it this way. And the mayor says, who's her direct above? Yes. I mean, what was her alternative at the time? I don't know. Maybe there were alternatives, but I don't think, given in the same boat, one would have done much different. Anybody in this room. It is what it is. I mean, what do you do now? I mean,
Do what we did, we put a policy into.
I mean, Mr. Benoit, put a policy in. I think everybody in the board was kind of surprised that there was no accountability, especially we're not talking about going out of Modern Hardware and buying $5 worth of screws or something. $150,000 is a noticeable amount of money. In the capital expenditures, we have those things listed. 180,000 for buses or something along those lines, 340,000 for the park, whatever it is, those amounts are in there. I mean, that's what they're there for. I mean, you know, you shouldn't be buying, shouldn't be buying extra buses if we don't have the money to buy it. And there should be some action for it, but I don't know what to do about it after the fact. You know, either you're stuck with the bus or you're stuck with the truck or whatever it is. It's not like petty, I don't know what they use to pay off Modern Lumber for some nails or something. I don't know what it is, but there's a difference. And I think, you want to say someone should get a letter of something. Other than that, I don't know, and change it from 13 to 12. I don't know what else to do.
So legally speaking, the finance board did what it could have done to mitigate the problem that we did have at the time.
Yes, I mean, you're not in the supervisory role over the employees at large. I think you did what you had to do to balance the town's book. We certainly weren't gonna get our money back on a truck that's now been on the road for almost a year. And clearly, Barney, if you want somebody to say the town screwed up, I'll say the town screwed up. If you say you want them to you're tired of their apologizing after the mistakes are found, it's tough to apologize before the mistakes are found. You know, it's a screw up, there's no question about it. I think the Board of Finance has done what it's done. This isn't like somebody put his hand in somebody's pocket to make a profit or to do the town dirt. Mr. Bosley was trying to get the best price he could on the second truck, and like every person in that kind of position, one more piece of equipment, as far as they're concerned, always enhances the department. And so he went to his immediate supervisor, who was the mayor, and the mayor said it was okay. I suppose he could have said, give it to me in writing. Mr. Mayor, I won't order this truck until you give me in writing. With 20/20 hindsight, that would have been the right thing to do, but I don't know how many of us would have done it.
And in fact, Barney, just to point out.
But now he has to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
the new rules in
And
place.
I think that's long overdue, and I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, and in fact, last week, Barney, you let an error go forward, believing believing a past policy was required a unanimous vote. The understanding of others was that it required a 2/3 vote. You let that vote go through as passed before you opened your mouth to say, oh no, this requires a unanimous vote. You allowed the town to act improperly.
No.
Well,
You didn't know what
yes,
you
you
did.
did. You allowed it to act improperly, having that piece of paper in your hands.
That's
Now,
another
I'll just
argument.
leave it at that. I'll leave it at that, but.
I'd like to say something.
You should stick with the issue.
Yeah.
Let John Smith have the floor, he's a selectman.
I think one of the problems we have here is communication.
Mhm.
No, people knew things were done wrong, they didn't go to the proper authorities and let them know. We've gone through a similar situation recently where a department head went ahead and waived the fees to a building permit, where that was not the proper way to do it. Instead of coming forward and telling us that this is what happened so we could work it out, we decided to come to a meeting and try to get it passed so that we could give those away. Instead of saying, I made a mistake, it was not my authority to do this, to waive the fees. It's almost seemed like a cover-up. Just, let's not talk about it, let's just pass this thing. It happens too often and it needs to be squashed. Delpha came in and she could have said easily, I made a mistake, I waived the fees, I don't have the authority to do that. The land use doesn't have the authority to do that. If she'd have went to the department that hands out permits, the building official, he would have turned around and said, you need to go in front of the selectmen and get the fees waived. Instead of coming up and telling us this is the process that happened, we came in and just tried to take care of it and cover it and not say what the problem was. We'll end up in that situation again if we don't find out what the problem was. That's what I'm getting from this.
I agree completely, because it seems like we find out after the fact all the time. And I understand getting a better price for this. But I'm sorry, I'm in business as well as everyone else, and with the economy the way it is, you have that 30-day leeway. you can get just as good a price if they understand the proper channels of command have to be gone through. Nobody has to make a decision tomorrow that's gonna change, that's gonna affect the purchase of these two trucks. So, I don't buy that anybody's under the gun that much that they can't address it with other people.
I agree, it's poor judgment.
Ms. Savoy?
Nutmeg, I have requisition for another truck. They're using strong arm tactics that you have to give them a purchase order by June 30th. The truck would obviously be delivered in the next fiscal year, which I understand there's money that's already appropriated for it. I don't, it just kind of gets me that why couldn't they wait till July 1st for a purchase order, for example?
Right.
Why does it have to be June 30th?
Right.
The bottom line is,
They wanna
the truck
get it in
will
June?
come.
They wanna get it in that
Right.
month, they want
Yeah.
that month?
They want it in their second
Exactly.
quarter instead of their third
It's
quarter.
the state
Strong arm
purchase
tactics
order
again.
runs out.
But again, they're not going to be willing to lose the sale of that truck for
So,
one day.
We're not gonna issue a purchase
Well,
order
no,
for July.
they're saying it will go up.
Well, you know, shop around.
Exactly.
Eventually, this is the only place you can get one.
No.
So let's
No,
get
I-
back to this
National
truck
Guard
here.
all over the country.
What are we gonna do with this truck?
When it's done.
It's over and done, I think. And
Bill,
put
is
to
there,
rest.
I was gonna say, Bill, is there anything else legally that, besides the two letters that you, got?
No, I mean, the only issue is purely an accounting issue as to whether or not you charge it to 213 or 212, and I think you have to charge it to 212 because it came in to 212. And I think that if you don't do that, the auditors will do that automatically, Paula.
They would give you that entry, if you didn't make it, then they'd give you a qualified opinion, you wouldn't get it.
I think that's the issue that.
So that's gonna be done by then.
So much for that.
Okay.
How come they didn't?
That's why we put it in the old year,
How come
and
they
that's
didn't?
where it belongs.
How come the ordinance didn't find us?
They did,
Because
because it
covered
was in
before
the
the
right
audit was
year.
out, the audit doesn't come out, wasn't
It was
out
booked
in
properly.
October. You close your fiscal year in July, and when does the audit come out, Paula?
In March this year.
March,
Yeah.
9 months later, so this has been out
So
for
we're
5 months
next-
after the
short
audit.
of
It
next
takes,
audit.
they're here for 4 months, 4 or 5 months. The fact they were here till like the middle of December.
So can I ask the mayor, the chief elected officer, have you had a meeting with all your department heads and tell them that they just can't do that in the future? And here is the new policy, and here are the new purchase orders?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so I don't think something like this is gonna happen in the future. And I agree with Alma, you know, it's a business world, and things change, and we have to adjust to the changes. And mistakes were made, everybody agreed to that. You know, let's put it to bed and move on.
But John has a good point. Something else just arose last week, you said. So,
So when was this meeting with those other department heads? This is still happening.
exactly, because if it's still happening, then it, obviously, they
It's a
didn't
different-
get.
it's a different-
Yeah, we
it's a
understand,
different-
I
it's a
understand that
different-
completely, I understand that completely.
Don't forget, the
But
economic
again-
development director is trying to make things happen in this town.
Right.
Did she probably overstep her bounds in terms of making a property that's been decrepit and in blighted condition for ever since I've been here, and I've been here 13 years? Did she make, over a $3,900, because she was thinking in terms of, what you do in terms of a town project. That is tax exempt. So you don't pay sales tax on that. So she, in her mind, was thinking, okay, so maybe all the fees are exempt in terms of, it's a municipal project, it's tax exempt. The money comes to the town, so she was thinking, I would be able to exempt the fees for the building permit on that basis. So,
Which, I get that, Doug, but if we really reach far enough, we can make an excuse for every single error that happens in this town.
And,
Sorry.
and also, if I may,
Timesy, the young lady has the floor.
Susan, just so you know, this isn't something that just came up. Being able to fix it recently came to our attention. The waiver and the promise of the waiver was done over a year and a half ago, probably over 2 years ago. So it's not something that just happened, but the Board of Selectmen at this point, because work finally started, could now knew the problem was there and could take action to rectify it. But this is something that also came up over a year and a half, 2 years ago.
So as long as everyone's on the same page now, I
Yeah.
guess, Peter, is the point we're trying to make, that
We
regardless,
make
not
every
only of
effort
the.
to be as careful as we can.
Right, not only of purchases, but also of decisions that are, major decisions that are made.
Because it's not morally right to the other parties.
Right.
You're right.
When it wasn't for the law.
It puts Putnam in a very difficult position.
So what do you do to Tom, Dick, and John's
Billy,
that
we don't
had
need
the
your
same
services
parcel,
anymore.
had the same work done, and they're not tax exempt?
Thank you for coming, and thank you
Been
for
a
your
real
opinion.
pleasure.
Thank you for your opinion.
I mean, one of the questions that comes with this is that at the end of the day, someone's gotta be monitoring this stuff. I don't know who, but someone's gotta be monitoring it. It just can't go after it's all, everything can't be after the fact. You know, we took care of it this time, and that's taken care of. But after the fact's a tough way to do anything. You know, I mean, we've sat here in other conditions with regards to paying for bills. I can think of one thing here, we paid many thousands of dollars for it. That was all after the fact. Nobody brought it to us. It was paid for. Yeah, and that was with, you know what I'm talking about. And you know, it adds up to a lot of money when you start adding it all up. You know, you're talking several $100,000. I mean, we're fortunate that we have the money that we can pay this stuff, but that's a tough way to work within here. It's a tough way to work, I would think, legally, you know, and Bill always seems to come to the rescue and pull something out of the barrel, and, you know, and what have you, but I don't think it's a good way to run a town, is that the mistakes are made, and the answer is, well, you know, maybe if it was a better day, it would've worked better, you know.
There's checks and balances that are working, they're just not working fast enough.
Yeah, and the money's being spent.
Correct, but they're there, and we just need to hone in on them and make them a little better.
Exactly.
Again, Joe, you're talking a project that was started quite a few years ago.
No, I'm talking about the truck.
No.
I'm not talking about that.
But, you know, that, again,
I
another
mean-
project that was a long time ago.
I mean,
It was
I've been
a number of years ago.
I like to say I pay attention to some of this stuff, been on boards for a long time. I don't know anything about any fee waivers or anything. I don't know where that came from or what have you, and.
It was 1999 when
Well, I'd like, I mean, how many people in this room, how many people in this room even know about it? I don't know, you know, but they're not a lot of, unless you're in the business, you wouldn't know.
Yeah, exactly.
The policy was written in '99
Well,
and
okay.
adopted, but the waiver that was given was just given months ago.
Oh, yeah,
No,
well,
it was not.
The first bid,
It was
I have
not.
the first bid sheet that went out, and it says you will pay the fees. And it was addendum, the second addendum is when she waived the fees. Get the paperwork, I've got it.
But when was the promise?
I don't know.
That's
The
the thing,
promise-
no,
March.
when was the promise, John? You have to
Promise
go
from
back
the
to
In
the
the
history,
beginning, when
here
the
we go
first
again.
bid sheet on the walkthrough was, you will have to pay the building fees.
Yeah,
And
well,
then
I
she
didn't
made an
start it, I'm
addendum to it.
talking about
The truck.
the truck,
I'm
which is
sorry.
on the agenda.
The truck is later on grass.
Yeah.
Can I make a motion to adjourn?
Yes, you can.
Okay. What?
Any other business to talk about?
He hopes not.
Yes, Mr. Boyd, we have other business. What's this truck?
The new truck that's requested.
For next year?
But they want it for this one.
No. July
No.
1st.
In fact, you might even tell them we're gonna pay that price that they're giving us now, whether they like it or not.
I like that. I actually have another supplier I'm gonna call.
Good. Wonderful.
Call somebody else.
Make a motion to adjourn again.
A second? All those in favor?